Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook. Chapter 31. Warrior Occupation Template. You killed the Skull Commander. You have gained 10,000 experience points. A system prompt appears. It means that the Skeleton Commander has been completely killed. The phalanx that clenched the skeleton Mo knife suddenly relaxed, and Sumu also breathed a long sigh of relief. The war between the two skeleton legions continues. But in Suemu's view, the war is over. Without the Skeleton Commander, no matter how many these core of skeletons are, they are nothing but scattered sand. His end is nothing more than being killed or enslaved by Sumu and become his little brother. This war did not last long, but there were not many dangers in it. Not to mention the Skeleton Commander's own combat power, the skeleton mages commanded by it alone is enough to bring a fatal threat to Sumu. Fortunately, he won. After killing the skeleton leader, the entire skeleton army became his trophy. Next, Sumu did not rush to absorb the bones of the skeleton leader, but returned to the battlefield, either killing or subduing, and incorporating the remaining elite skeletons in the skeleton army into his own forces. After half an hour, except for more than 10 elite skeletons that had already been killed, all the remaining elite skeletons were enslaved by Sumu and became his skeleton brothers. There are more advanced skeletons. As for the skeleton soldiers, after the skeleton warriors under his command and the younger brothers of the skeleton warriors were full, the remaining skeleton soldiers were all beheaded, which became the experience value for Sumu and his younger brothers to grow. After doing this, Sumu returned to the center of the battlefield. You have absorbed the essence of the bones, and your body is stronger. Your strength increased by 25. Your agility has increased by 18. Your physique has increased by 32 points. Your spirit increased by 5 points. You have obtained the transfer information of the Warrior Profession Template Skull Commander. After all, it is a true warrior rank. Even though Suemu's 4-dimensional attributes have grown significantly compared to the previous ones, after absorbing the essence of the Skeleton Commander's bones, his 4-dimensional attributes have still grown considerably. Of course, more importantly, he also obtained the first material for synthesizing the warrior profession, which belongs to the professional template of the Skeleton Commander. Compared with other warrior professional templates, the 4D attribute bonus of Skeleton Commander is not very high. But this is also relatively speaking, at least compared to the elite professional template owned by Sumu, the 4-dimensional attribute bonus of the Skeleton Commander is still very high. Open black lens bracket template, close black lens bracket, Skull Commander. Rank Warrior Occupation Template. Bonus HP plus 5000, Strength 45, Agility 30, Constitution 70, Spirit 5. Skill, Encouragement. Inspiration. Active skill. As a high-level undead, after entering the battlefield, the Skeleton Commander can release the breath of death in his body, bless the skeletons under his command, and greatly increase its attack power, attack speed and moving speed. Compared with the elite skeleton warriors, the 4-dimensional attribute blessing of the Skeleton Commander is 3 or 4 times higher. Even compared with the exclusive professional template that Sumu obtained, it is still a lot higher. With such a high professional template bonus, the gap between the warrior rank and the elite rank is further widened. But Suemu's attention didn't stay long on this warrior's career template. No matter how strong or weak the bonus of this warrior professional template is, it is only the material for synthesizing Suemu's exclusive warrior professional template. After tasting the sweetness of professional integration, there is a top-level warrior professional template in front of him, and Sumu will not change careers rashly. Ended the absorption of the Skeleton Commander's bones. After absorbing the essence of the other elite skeletons he killed on the battlefield, Sumu only looked at his attribute panel after his 4-dimensional attribute increased slightly again. Now, he already has 11 free points. With his current strength, about 2 elite skeletons can provide him with a little free attribute. In this war, the number of elite skeletons Sumu personally killed reached 12. The 12 elite skeletons give him 6 free stats. As the skeleton of the warrior rank, the skeleton alone leading himself, provided Sumu with 5 free points. The total number of free points that Sumu has now has reached as many as 11 points. It is worth mentioning that, when the data of free points appears on the attribute panel, Sumu needs to carefully consider whether to kill or enslave the skeleton brother. Just like the skeleton leader he just killed. By enslaving him, Su-mu can certainly gain a formidable combat power, which will greatly reduce his pressure when hunting other warrior skeletons in the follow-up, and the number of skeleton brothers under his command will also skyrocket. But, to enslave him, not to mention how long it takes Su-mu, the loss of experience points and free points alone is enough for him to feel distressed for a long time. At least, before the free points he obtained were enough, Su-mu preferred to kill warrior skeletons and elite skeletons to increase his strength with the free points obtained. Unless it is particularly precious, or if he really needs it, Su-mu will enslave it and turn it into his own skeleton brother. For example, the only surviving terrifying mage. For example, the elite professional skeletal archer of archers. For example, the 3 skeleton warriors who can assist Su-mu in commanding the skeleton boy. Etc. Besides, all the skeletons, whether they were skeleton soldiers, advanced skeletons, or elite skeletons, were all killed by Su-mu and his skeleton brothers, and they became nutrients for their growth again. 11 free points. Not much to say, not much to say. Now that everything on the battlefield has been dealt with, Su-mu can calm down and use the 11 free points he just obtained to improve his strength again. Chapter 32. Split Sky Slash and Blast Slash. It's still these 2 skills before he gets more warrior professional templates and fuses his own warrior professional template. He only has these 2 skills. 11 free points. Su-mu can add points separately to upgrade both skills to level 7 or 8, or choose to upgrade one of the skills after the other is full. Seem. No choice at all. Breathing out a long breath in his heart, Su-mu focused his attention on the skill of Blast Slash. Obviously, in the goal of hunting warrior skeletons, Blast Slash plays a greater role than Cracked Sky Slash. 1 free point consumption. The level of Blast Slash has been increased from level 5 to level 6, the consumption of stamina value has been further reduced, and the total damage multiplier of its burst has also increased again. Continue to add points. The 2nd free point consumption. The level of Blast Slash has been increased from level 6 to level 7. The 3rd free point consumption. The level of Blast Slash has been increased from level 7 to level 8. After taking a look at the skill description of Blast Slash, after 3 consecutive upgrades, Su-mu did not hesitate to put 2 free points into it again, and directly raise the skill to the full level of level 10. By this time, the number of light blades erupted from Blast Slash has reached 12. The total damage caused by the 12 light blades is 12 times as much as ordinary damage. Almost doubled. If it is said that if Su-mu is faced with the skeleton commander once again, I am afraid that a single outbreak of Blast Storm will be enough to make it lose its combat effectiveness. Only, Su-mu was slightly confused when he looked at Blast Slash, who had been upgraded to the full level of 10 by himself. Because the small plus sign behind this skill did not disappear with the full level of the skill, it still exists. It seems to mean that he can still put his free points into the skill, Blast Slash. There are 6 free points left. After thinking about it for a while, Su-mu tentatively invested another 1 free point into the already full level, Blast Slash. Still level 10. The skill level has not changed, nor has the skill description of Blast Slash. Not enough free points invested. The soul fire in his eyes flickered slightly, and Su-mu put 1 free point into it again. Still no change. Perhaps. Glancing at the 4 free points left, Su-mu threw in again. 3 points. 4 o'clock. 5 o'clock. When a full 5 free points were put into it, this skill that had consumed Su-mu's full 14 free points finally changed. The original skills disappeared. A brand new skill appeared on Su-mu's attribute panel. Death Slash. Active skill. The upper level skill of Gale Slash cannot be upgraded. It consumes 1/20th of the stamina value, and instantly bursts 10 light blades blended with the breath of death, making continuous fatal cuts on the enemy, totaling the enemy deals 20 times the damage of normal attacks. Death Cut. A new skill is born. Moreover, it is the upper level skill of the skill of Gale Slash. The consumption of stamina value has been doubled again, the number of light blades that erupted has been reduced from 12 to 10, and the total amount of damage caused has also skyrocketed from 12 times to 20 times today. Especially, superior skills. With 10 years of gaming experience in the previous life, Su-mu naturally understood the concept of high-level skills. The so-called upper-level skills are the skills that have evolved on the basis of the original skills. This skill is not only less expensive than the original skill, but its power far exceeds the original skill. Another name that players have for upper-level skills is boss skills. As the name suggests, boss skills are naturally the skills that can only be obtained by boss. Among NPCs, only those who step into the hero rank can have boss skills. Among monsters, only those who step into the lord rank like Skeleton King can have boss skills. Boss was originally the player's name for the lord's rank and the monsters above the lord's rank. Past life. Boss skills, that is, upper-level skills, have always been the object of players' pursuit. Its attraction to players is no less than the existence of hidden occupations, lost inheritances, and even artifacts. But, until the gods came and the world was destroyed, the number of players who had truly acquired high-level skills was less than 10. As a former legendary swordsman, Su Mu has never even collected information about obtaining high-level skills in his previous life. It seems that high-level skills can only be obtained by monster bosses and hero NPCs. This shows the preciousness of superior skills. Corresponding to preciousness is the power of superior skills. It can be said that even the most rubbish upper-level skills are far more powerful than those general skills or professional skills that players acquire through normal means. Death Slash is an upper-level skill. That is, boss skills. When looking at this skill, what Su Mu thought of was not just this skill. Death Slash was obtained by raising the professional skill of Hurricane Slash to full level through free points, and then advanced. Does that mean that his other skill, Sky Splitting, can also reach full level in this way, and then evolve into his second boss skill? Even, as long as the free points are enough. All the skills he will acquire in the future, all can be advanced into boss skills in this way. Boss monsters, the first reason why they are called boss, is that they have four-dimensional attributes and health values that far exceed players, NPCs and ordinary monsters, making them difficult to attack. The second reason is that they have boss skills. The existence of these extremely powerful boss skills enables them to easily slaughter players of the same level or even higher levels, and it also makes it an impossible task for players to single out the boss. Only after reaching a certain level and rank, and then gathering enough people, can you be sure to challenge the boss. Su Mu smiled. Su Mu smiled, even though only the skeleton's face couldn't make a smile. Free points. If his conjectures come true. With the support of a steady stream of free points, he can upgrade all the skills he acquired in the future into boss skills. If he has enough skills. The strongest boss in the history of the game world is about to be born. Chapter 33. Evolved, Blast Slash, from a common skill to a boss skill, Death Slash, consuming a total of 14 free points. This also reduced the number of free points that Su Mu now has from the original 11 points to 1 point. He casually added the remaining 1 free point to Sky Slash, and raised its level from level 1 to level 2, and Su Mu's mood gradually calmed down. The strongest boss in history. This is the goal of Su Mu. To accomplish this goal, he not only needs to improve his career template and his four-dimensional attributes, but also needs to obtain a lot of free points and skills. As such, his development direction needs a little improvement. The skeleton brother still has to accept it. But enough is enough. Except for the skeleton boy who must be enslaved, the remaining skeletons will become experience points, career templates and free points for Su Mu to grow again. As mentioned earlier, the skeletons in the elite ranks already possess simple wisdom. To have wisdom means to have memory. As the existence of the warrior rank, the skeleton commander killed by Su Mu not only possessed a higher level of wisdom, but also had a memory far beyond that of the elite skeleton. After absorbing the bones of the skeleton leader, Su Mu gained a lot of information from it. A large part of it is what Su Mu desperately needs. For example, the number and distribution of the rank skeletons of the warriors under the Skeleton King, for example, the relevant information of the Skeleton King, the ruler of the buried land, and so on. In general, there are a lot of warrior rank skeletons under the Skeleton King. In addition to the 8 skeleton leaders who lead the 8 skeleton legions, there are more warrior rank skeletons in the Death Castle where the Skeleton King lives. It stands to reason that as the orthodox advancement path of the skeleton family, the number of skeleton leaders should be the largest among warrior rank skeletons. But, in the entire burial place, except for the unknown skeleton leaders hidden in the corners and corners, the skeleton leaders under the Skeleton King, only these 8. Because Skeleton King himself is also harvesting skeletons. The 8 great skeleton commanders, these are the 8 great princes entrusted by the Skeleton King, who assist him in ruling this vast burial place. These 8 princes are not fixed. Once a new skeleton lord is born in the boneyard, you can challenge one of the 8 princes. Those who win will become new princes under the Skeleton King, those who lose will be swallowed by the Skeleton King. Yes, the skeleton commander is not eligible to devour the skeletons of the warrior rank. They can devour only the skeletons at the elite level and below. The skeleton of the warrior rank, only the Skeleton King can swallow it. The skeleton family is a family that harvests each other. As the ruler of the entire boneyard, the Skeleton King naturally stands at the top of this harvesting chain. It disdains to devour those skeletons that are too far from its own rank, but the skeletons of the warrior rank will not let go. No one knows how long the boneyard has existed. No one knows how many warrior rank skeletons the Skeleton King devoured. Perhaps, when the Skeleton King became the ruler of the bone burial ground, this chain of devouring each other has been determined, and the Skeleton King himself is the biggest beneficiary of this harvesting chain. Of course, this is just the usual case. There are countless skeletons in the burial place, and naturally, skeletons with extraordinary talents or high consciousness will be born. After this kind of skeleton evolves to the warrior rank, it may not challenge the 8 princes, nor join the Skeleton King's command. Another option for them is to hide. Grow sneakily, wait until you have enough strength to challenge the Skeleton King and seize the dominion of the boneyard, or hide forever from being discovered. Once they are discovered by Skeleton's army of skeletons, a war begins. As long as there is no strength against the Skeleton King, what awaits them is still being swallowed by the Skeleton King. In this way, as a result of the long accumulation of time, on the orthodox evolutionary path of the skeleton family, there are only 8 skeleton leaders who have stepped into the warrior rank of the 8 princes. In comparison, on the contrary, the number of warrior skeletons from other professions with more difficult advancement is a little more. This kind of skeleton does not threaten the rule of the Skeleton King, and it is the best assistant for the Skeleton King to enhance his power. Naturally, it will be continuously collected and accumulated by the Skeleton King. And in the memory of the Skeleton Commander. These warrior skeletons of various but varied types are basically stationed in the Skeleton King's habitat, the Castle of Death. So, the difficulty of collecting warrior career templates seems to be easier than I thought. Little by little, the information from the Skeleton Commander was straightened out, and the soul fire in Su Emu's eyes flickered slightly. He already has an idea. If the plan is successful, he doesn't need to face the terrifying Skeleton King. He will be able to obtain enough warrior career templates to raise his rank from elite to warrior. A few days later, a skeleton army with a total number of more than 4,000 is marching in the wilderness, heading towards the core of the burial place, the Death Castle where the Skeleton King lives. The skeleton army composed of more than 4,000 skeletons is basically equivalent to the number of legions under a full skeleton commander. Only, it is a little different from the skeleton legion commanded by the Skeleton King. In addition to the necessary configurations such as archers, skeleton mage, and skeleton warriors, this skeleton legion has the largest number of skeleton guards and skeleton guards. As special skeletons that focus on physique growth, the meaning of skeleton guards and skeleton guards in the skeleton army is to guard the skeleton generals or skeleton leaders as the main general. And this skeleton army, there are very few skeleton guards and skeleton guards around the main general, but there are a large number of skeleton guards and skeleton guards as meat shields on the outer layer of the skeleton army. It seems that the meaning of the existence of the skeleton guards and skeleton guards in this skeleton army is not to protect the main general, but to protect the entire skeleton army. This is incomprehensible to the skeleton family. Because the meaning of the existence of the entire skeleton family is to build up higher order existences, rather than letting high-level skeletons guard those low-level skeletons that don't even have consciousness and self. The core of skeletons galloped all the way. They only stopped when they were more than 10 kilometers away from the Death Castle. In front of them, a larger army of skeletons appeared. Not only that, on the left and right sides of this strange skeleton army, there are also 2 larger skeleton army groups. They have stepped into the encirclement. Chapter 34. as expected of the Skeleton King. This breath is really terrifying. Outside the castle of the dead, in a small dirt bag only a few hundred meters away from the Skeleton King's habitat, Su-mu, with only half of his head exposed, restrained his breath as much as possible to avoid being discovered. Not far in front of him, a behemoth with a height of more than 2 meters 5 hurried away with a few warrior skeletons and disappeared from his field of vision. This is Skeletron, the owner of the Lord Job template. The king of the skeletons, the ruler of the boneyard. Su-mu dared not approach. I can't see the specific appearance of this Skeleton King. But just the terrifying aura emanating from Skeleton King made Su-mu's heart skip a beat. It's the Skeleton King after all. One that has existed for a long time and devoured countless warrior skeletons. Its strength is not to mention Su-mu, even among the monster lords of the same rank, it is also an absolute powerhouse. If he faced this Skeleton King head-on, I'm afraid Su-mu wouldn't even have a chance to make a move, and he would be killed in one hit. Carefully hiding in the small dirt bag, watching the huge figure of the Skeleton King slowly disappear. After confirming that the Skeleton King was far away, he raised his head and slowly crawled out of the small dirt bag. The soul fire in his eyes flickered slightly, and Su-mu was in a very happy mood. Since the Skeleton King really appeared, it means that his plan was successful. These days, Su-mu took the skeleton army under his command for hundreds of kilometers and devoured the skeleton army of the 4 Skeleton Kings. Except for one skeleton leader who was enslaved and became Su-mu's younger brother, the remaining 3 skeleton leaders and most of the elite skeletons were killed and swallowed, becoming Su-mu's experience, attributes and free points to grow again. In addition to the skeleton army that was devoured at the beginning, 5 of the 8 princes under the Skeleton King's command had already been damaged in Su-mu's hands. The 5 skeleton leaders were beheaded. 5 skeleton legions were devoured. Even for the Skeleton King, this was a heavy loss. When Su-mu was about to attack the 6th skeleton army, the remaining 3 skeleton army had been assembled under the orders of Skeletron, and only patrolled around the Castle of Death. And, as soon as there is any sign of the skeleton army under Su-mu's command, the 3 skeleton corps will gather at the first time to outflank them. So, Su-mu made a plan. Let the skeleton he conquered lead the younger brother to lead the skeleton army under his command, and blatantly attack the Death Castle, making the appearance of taking the Death Castle. He himself moved quietly and hid around the Castle of Death in advance. Skeleton King didn't know who his enemy was and what rank he was in. Once he learns that the enemy is besieged, he is bound to take action himself and kill the enemy who dares to offend his majesty. By this time, Su-mu's chance is here. The development of things was just as he expected. The core of skeletons was besieged, and the Skeleton King who got the news also left the Death Castle and rushed to the battlefield with several warrior skeletons under his command. In this way, the existence that threatened him the most in the Death Castle was called away from the mountain. The Skeleton King has gone to the battlefield. On Su-mu's side, even he himself couldn't bear a blow from the Skeleton King, not to mention the skeleton younger brother under his command. When Su-mu came up with this plan, the Korra Bones was abandoned. The purpose of their existence is to hold back Skeleton King, so that it cannot return to the Death Castle in a short time, delaying Su-mu's hunting plan. So, when he devoured the 4 skeleton armies under the Skeleton King's command, Su-mu could choose and keep all the skeletons with strong defenses such as the Skeleton Guard and the Skeleton Guard, in order to delay it for a longer period of time. Now, the Skeleton King is gone. Su-mu also officially started his hunt. No one knows how long the Death Castle has been around. But judging from its crumbling walls and dilapidated traces, this ancient dilapidated castle has existed for at least hundreds of years. After crawling out of the small dirt bag, Su-mu concealed his figure as much as possible, and quietly touched the Death Castle. This castle is huge. In addition to the collapsed position, the remaining city walls will be patrolled by a squad of skeletons composed of archers or spellcasters. As the absolute core of the burial ground, there are no skeleton soldiers in the Death Castle. The lowest level patrol skeletons are all advanced skeletons such as skeleton warriors, skeleton archers, and skeleton mages, and as the patrol team captain, there are elite skeletons such as skeleton warriors, skeleton archers, and horror mages. Further up, it is the skeleton of the warrior rank. These warrior skeletons with great autonomy in the Death Castle are the targets of Su-mu hunting. Approaching the city wall cautiously. jumped in through the collapsed part, and when a team of skeletons finished patrolling and turned their backs to the collapsed part, Sumu climbed up lightly and appeared above the city wall. Behind him is a collapsed city wall. In front of him is a team of skeleton archers, including an elite skeleton archer and 10 advanced skeleton archers. Skeletons have no flesh. When he was on the ground, Sumu could also reduce the sound by stepping lightly. On this section of the city wall made entirely of stone, even if he lightly stepped, it was difficult to avoid making the sound. So, after appearing on this section of the city wall, Sumu simply stopped hiding his figure and charged directly towards the skeleton team. Click. The crisp crash of bones and rocks resounded on the city walls. The skeleton squad, which was no more than 10 meters away from Sumu, was indeed alarmed. The skeleton archer clenched the bone bow tightly, and the skeleton archer as the captain turned around at the first time, a deathly breath appeared on the pale bone bow in his hand, meow towards this side. Shocked. Faced with what was expected, Sumu didn't have the slightest mood swing. His pace quickened a bit. The skeleton sword in his hand was cut out at this moment, shrouding the entire skeleton team in it. Boss skill, smashing the air. Chapter 35. The smashing slash is the second boss skill that Sumu has acquired. After beheading the 3 skeleton leaders and killing many of the elite skeletons under their command, Sumu's free points have long exceeded the number of 20 points. Before coming this time, Sumu also consumed 13 free points to upgrade his second skill, Cracking the Sky, to full level, and evolved it into a boss skill. Sky Smashing. Active skill, upper level skill of Sky Slashing, cannot be upgraded. It consumes 1/20th of the stamina value and releases a light blade with a coverage area of 120 to the front, causing 2 times the normal attack to the enemies within the coverage area. Damage. Each time an enemy is killed, the blade of light splits once, causing half the splash damage of the previous damage to enemies within the coverage area. Judging from the skill description, Smashing the Sky doesn't seem to be much stronger than Cracking the Sky. But what is a normal attack? It was a blow with Sumu's current strength and agility combined with the sharpness of the skeleton blade. I don't dare to say more. At this time, Sumu slashed out, and it was easy to kill an elite skeleton in seconds. What is splash damage? Just like now. Smashed out. A dark red blade of light burst out from the skeleton sword in an instant, spanning the distance of several meters between Sumu and the skeleton team, and slashing at the skeleton archer closest to him. No doubt, this skeleton archer with only the advanced rank was killed instantly. And while beheading this skeleton archer, 10 equally dark red but much smaller light blades split out and attacked in all directions. These tiny light blades are splash damage. If only that was the case. This skill is nothing. But after beheading the first skeleton archer, the dark red blade of light continued to move forward, killing the second, third, and fourth skeleton archers on the line. Each time a skeleton archer is killed, the blade of light splits. And those small light blades that split out double damage after beheading an advanced skeleton, split again 0.5 times damage. Each time you kill an enemy, the blade of light splits. So back and forth. This near infinite split will not stop until all the enemies within the coverage area of the light blade are killed, or the final split light blade is not enough to kill the enemy. This is terrible. Because, if Sumu's initial attack is enough, and the enemies he faces are dense enough, theoretically, this move will split infinitely. Until all the enemies are killed. This is the smashing slash. A magic weapon that can theoretically kill hundreds, thousands, or even tens of thousands of enemies with one move. City wall. Sumu slashed out. Countless tiny dark red light blades spread over every inch of space within a radius of dozens of meters. Under this dense and sharp attack, the skeleton team did not even take a breath, and they were all beheaded and turned into broken bones all over the ground. Ignore the corpses. After doing all this, Sumu lowered his body, relying on the guardrail on the inside of the city wall to cover it, and sneaked away quietly towards the other side of the city wall. There is an arrow tower. His first target, a skeletal sniper who stepped into the ranks of warriors, on that arrow tower. The skeleton team on this city wall has been cleared by him, and no new skeletons will come in a short time. What he needs to pay attention to is not to be discovered by the skeleton team on the other 3 walls. There are countless strong people in the Death Castle. There are at least a dozen skeletons who have reached the warrior rank alone. Once the skeletons found him and released the signal of the enemy's invasion, I am afraid that he would immediately face the siege of a large number of warrior skeletons and elite skeletons. Even with 2 boss skills, Su Mu didn't think he could escape safely under the siege of dozens or even dozens of high-level undead such as dark mages, skeletal snipers, skeleton swordsmen, and skeleton wardens. As for the bones, the so-called ultimate meaning of stealth, isn't it Kai Wushwang? As long as all the skeletons who found him were beheaded, naturally no skeleton would know that he had sneaked into the castle of death. Progress little by little. Su Mu was quickly approaching the arrow tower. When he arrived under the arrow tower, he stagnated instead, curled up and hid in a small corner. In this corner, Su Mu only had to lean out to see the skeletal sniper in the arrow tower. Same. As long as he charges, he can cross a short step and rush from this corner to the back of the skeletal sniper in the arrow tower. But he didn't act in a hurry. Entering this castle of death, there are 2 things that Su Mu needs to pay attention to most. The first point is not to disturb the skeletons in the castle, so as not to cause him to be besieged by a large number of warrior skeletons, elite skeletons and advanced skeletons. The second point is to pay attention to the time of Skeleton King's return. Su Mu didn't know which way the Skeleton King would control the warrior rank skeletons under his command. If it is the control method brought about by the deterrence of the skeleton warrior and the shock of the skeleton warrior, even if he kills all the skeletons in the Death Castle, the Skeleton King will not notice it at all. In this case, it will only return after destroying the skeleton army under Su Mu. If it is an enslavement method like Su Mu, as long as he kills any warrior skeleton in the Castle of Death, the Skeleton King will know that someone has invaded the Castle of Death. In this case, the Skeleton King is likely to rush back to the Death Castle as quickly as possible to kill the invaders. Su Mu dared not gamble. So, he is waiting for his time. Time passed. Su Mu hid in that corner motionless, as if he was a dead corpse. Finally, when more than 10 minutes passed, a large amount of information was suddenly refreshed from his attribute panel. Su Mu's figure also suddenly rushed out. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe.